I told you we'd be back, and we'd be back from a Christian perspective. I have to question what I'm doing. Am I engaging in blasphemy? No. Am I trying to invent a crisis that's not there? Absolutely not. Am I trying to inflame a normal situation into something that'll draw attention and benefit me personally, as Candace Owens has been accused of? No, not at all. In fact, again, I'll say this again. I started out on the side of TPUSA, said not going to go down the Kennedy assassination conspiracy route. I also said support Erica Kirk after it was announced she was going to be the CEO. And I had no reason not to engage. But I had concerns that were growing almost immediately, but I thought, okay, I'm not going to go there. But after the memorial, that was my turning point. And I started to ask questions, and then I looked at what was going on. I said, wow, we need to prove me wrong debate. And TPUSA, you still come on my show. You still come on my show. I know you won't, but you should. You should be going on other people's shows. Is it biblical to be doing what I'm doing? This is what I wanted to know. Because if it's not, I've got to go do something else. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you what I found. We're going to get to that right after the break, and I'm going to throw these two things out here. Immune system functioning is 5 sprays away. You want to improve your immune system? This is it. You want to lessen the harm to your joints, get relief, less inflammation. This is your this is your ticket. These two here greatly improved my life. The first one, the spray, saved my life. Then you've got the skin cream that treats cuts, bruises, burns, and fine lines and wrinkles. Together, they're the starter pack 15% off. Go to iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. I want my health back, and you will get it back. iwantmyhealthback.com/Dave Hodges. Well, to answer that question, let me go to something I think is really important for us to look at. And it's now disappeared on me. Let me see. Here it is, I think. Okay, here we go. Common themes among passages. And I wanted to do a condensed version. Okay. 3 passages address what I asked. There's many more that do too, but these 3 in particular. Ephesians 5, verses 8 through 11, Mark 11, verses 15 through 18, and Jeremiah 7, particularly verse 31, share overlapping themes of hypocrisy and religious practice, exposing corruption, which is what I think we're doing, and the call to genuine righteousness over superficial rituals, which is also what I think we're doing. Okay, now in Ephesians, it basically, when we go light versus darkness, we are to live as children of light, producing goodness and truth while rejecting, look at this, and exposing fruitless deeds of darkness. TPUSA, I'm going to address this to you directly. I don't care what's legal. What I know about the firing of loyal TPUSA employees without so much as severance pay after all the hours they worked, the time they worked for you, the sacrifice they've made, because you're not paying great except for yourselves in the inner circle, and the heartless way in which they were fired. I call that evil. Oh, you call it legal. Legal can be evil, and it is. Okay, and right here, Jeremiah's condemnation of Israel's reliance on the temple as a false refuge, a den of robbers. Well, when you tell people donate to me, dear donator, thank you for your $25. We'll send you out your hat. And then you get a deal that says, oh, we got a problem with the hats. We'll give you a little trinket, a rubber band to go on your wrist. It's a joke. It's misrepresentation. You didn't fulfill the contract, and I think it's legally actionable. But it clearly, clearly speaks to this here. Okay, den of robbers. I call that theft. Okay, while committing idolatry, injustice, Well, okay. You continue to lie and say you filed your 990 forms on time. You did not. You continue to lie and say it's typical business practice to send a $4.5 million payment to a state senator who's under 9 felony count indictments. Telling you, yeah, is that good fiduciary responsibility? I call that injustice. We talked about your immorality. And when your CEO lies about her past and she's supposed to be the pillar of a Christian organization, I didn't date for 5 years. I didn't drink. We know that's all a lie. That's immoral. That's immoral. We have the right to call this out. Okay. Then it says both of these verses here emphasize that God sees through the hypocrisy and demands inner transformation. Now, repent, walk the other way, do the right thing, and then I'll praise your name. I don't see that happening, but I'm not going to underestimate God. Corruption in sacred spaces. Mark depicts Jesus as cleansing the temple. Remember when Jesus walked into the temple and there's all this idolatry going on inside my Father's house of worship. And he went ballistic. Jesus was a man's man on that day, MMA. It's pretty amazing. Quoting Jeremiah 7:11, excuse me, down here, to decry its transformation into marketplace, exploiting worshipers. Yes, I believe you're exporting your donor class, except for the big ones that are getting what they want. Um, Jeremiah's broader oracle warns against treating the temple as a talisman for safety amid ongoing sin, predicting its destruction like Shiloh. And God was real clear in the Shiloh thing. He says, hey, look, I warned Shiloh. You keep doing this, you're going to suffer the fate of Shiloh. TPUSA, you're going to suffer the fate of Shiloh as you have done these things. Okay. Together, these verses critique religious institutions corrupted by greed. Oh, I've lost Charlie. But we've taken in $250 million, and this is not really much of an embellishment or exaggeration. Greed, oppression, your lead speaker. You're going to be deplatformed, and we're going to go after you if you don't shut up and quit asking questions. Oh, we're going to sue you if you keep asking questions with your cease and desist letter to Zach DiGregorio. Oppression. Yeah, what was it? The story Candace told that you thought someone was being disloyal, you took their computer, and then you fired everyone around them because they might be infected with her attitude, whatever that was. Okay. Truth, obedience, and justice. All passages stress actions over empty words or rituals. Jeremiah calls for reforming ways, treating the vulnerable justly and rejecting idols. Money is your idol, TPSA. To truly honor God, Ephesians reinforces this with finding out what pleases the Lord, while Mark shows Jesus' righteous anger as a model for confronting systemic evil. We're not seeing the appropriate level of grief. We haven't seen the questioning of very suspect and questionable investigative practices from law enforcement. The legal proceedings are off the charts bad for the defendant, unfair, I believe unconstitutional. If you're interested in justice, then why are you supporting the quick trial and conviction of someone who clearly didn't do it? Continuing. The overarching message is a warning against the complacency of faith that must manifest in ethical living or judgment follows. Okay, it's our job to expose what's going on. That's really clear from these three passages here I referenced earlier from Ephesians, Mark, and Jeremiah. Okay, now what I think is going to happen is the fate of Shiloh. At some point in time, when you've used up your usefulness, TPUSA, and you no longer have that special protection you enjoy right now, it's not going to be Jesus per se walking through your temple, overturning the tables and chasing out the livestock and getting rid of the idolatry as an organization that professes Christianity. It's probably going to be the authorities at some point in time. At some point in time, organizations like you get justice. And we don't think that you are an honorable, Christian abiding institution. Many of us think that. It's our opinion. Of course, Ben Shapiro wants us locked up for saying that. We can't talk. Well, change your ways. Show some real grief over Charlie. Give severance pay to the employees who you butchered their careers. Wouldn't even give them a reason. At least you should have treated them like human beings that sacrificed for you endlessly. I understand they were on salary and you were taking advantage of 80 and 90-hour work weeks because they were on salary and not being paid hourly. I have a problem with that. And I actually think the IRS has a problem with that too, as does the Department of Labor. But getting down to the big things, I'm going to go over a speech that Charlie made 3 years ago in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And you're not living the ideals he put forth. And this is why we're upset. And then we see deceit to cover the change in direction. I'm Dave Hodges. This is The Common Sense Show.